Welcome to Woodward's Watercolours. I'm Colin, and what we're going to be doing is drawing the little Swan Vestas matchbox. And I want to draw it quickly, and I want to not be too fussy about it. I'm going to do it Indian ink and dip pen, and I'm going to then let that dry and then add in a little bit of colour. So come with me and let's draw some matches together. Okay, so here we are. I have my picture of the Swan Vestas matches. Put my teeth back in, up in front of me. I want to show you what I'm drawing with, and I am deliberately choosing to use this very thick nibbed, and it's actually interchangeable, so you can take out the different nibs. I'll show you the cracker wee tin. You can get this in Hobbycraft. Wasn't too expensive anyway, and it has this little kind of ability to hold the well of the paint behind it, and this is the class little tin. Isn't it lovely? And you've got all sorts of different sizes of nibs using cold pressed. It's a little watercolor paper I actually bought in Douglas in the Isle of Man and W.H. Smith. It was on offer. It's 300 GSM, and I am using my beloved Winsor & Newton ink, which I sadly keep in a little cardboard box. I don't really know why I do those things. And that's it there. So I'm gonna try and draw this as quickly as I can. I'm just going to jump in. Remember, we do not want to be judging what we do and picking it apart and thinking, oh my goodness, made horrendous mistakes. And one thing I find is that with this thicker, I should actually show you. So whenever I'm dipping it in, I'm dipping it into just about where that little ridge is there. So dipping it, and I want to just jump in as quick as I can. And I love how really kind of chunky and thick this is, and I'm just trying to move as fast as I can here because I do not want to lose any sort of sense of momentum that you kind of get whenever you jump into a drawing, and the ink's going to pull. I'm moving to the corner of it so that I can get some sort of a bit of a thinner line. And just, well, like I would tend to do with the brush as well, just moving it around to see how I can access that. I mean, I'm not even using a flat edge brush, and I'm going to go on about a flat edge brush. That's how badly I love them. And I'm showing you how I would tend to draw this kind of quickly. So the matches, this is where sometimes whenever I'm drawing, I actually talk to myself, which is why I think that YouTube works quite well for me, because I waffle anyway to myself. So using the corner to get a little bit of the, you know, the kind of fine detail, but also just wanting to kind of keep the chunkiness of this as well. So we've got that. Okay, then there's another match coming across here, so we're just going to use the side of it here to get that. Another match to come across there, and that's got a lovely big, the phosphorus in there, and it's got, need to get the side of it to give a little bit of perspective. Another match coming across here. I'm just going to move that there, and with this great big kind of bulbous end on it as well. Okay, and then there's another one just sitting kind of in there, and it's in nice and tight as well. Now, the other thing that we have is we've got another quick dip there. Another thing that we have is we've got the other matches running across this way. So I just want to kind of give the sense of that, and then some setting up a little bit there. Obviously want to try and match where they are on the other side to give some sort of sense of continuity. It's really lovely when you're drawing with a nice big thick implement, because it means that you have to just go with the flow. Just change my position there in my seat to be able to capture that in the way I wanted to capture it. Now, the other thing is, so we've got this bit on here, and then that's going on because the box kind of comes out, and then you've got that, you know, on all the Swan Vestas matches, you've got the little striking section there. So I'm not gonna, well, actually I could, I was gonna say I'm not going to, but just making those simple dots. I don't think I'll actually bother with doing the simple dots. Now, this could be the really tricky bit, but what we're just going to do is just tackle it. So we've got the swan, and the good thing is that this is upside down. So this is actually a wee bit of a challenge to try and draw this, because it really forces you to consider how it actually is and not how you assume it to be. So you really have to kind of look backwards and forwards at it. This is, can you always tell when I go quiet when I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing here? Love that sharp edge of it. Now, I'm not going to panic if this is not right at all, but now here's the other bit then. So it goes, I haven't left much room for my swan here, but sure, this is what I said. I wasn't going to judge myself on this, sure wasn't. I'm just going to draw and see how it goes. Now, it's going to be a very skinny squished swan. Skinny squished swan. Did you know, I was Googling, that the Vesta comes from the goddess of hearth and home, a Roman goddess, Vesta, and that's where that came from. Love the simplicity of the outline of that shape. One thing I love about successful branding is that you know it the minute that you see it. Okay, and then I think I'll just actually leave that there. What I'm going to do is get a cheeky little colon in there, kind of hide the signature. Well, it's not that hidden with this. There we go. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my stampers. I haven't really done, well no, I did do a video using my stampers. I did. It was whenever I was in Sligo. The stampers have been just such a lovely part of the process for me, and I remember seeing them and thinking, I really like this. I would advise anybody, whatever you really like doing, you're going to enjoy looking at. So I'm just going to put these on here and just enjoy the process of putting them on. I have misspelt many times, well, maybe 4 or 5. Sometimes when I'm doing lives, these things happen. Swan and Vestas. And I get to use my little, don't anybody know what that little curly thing is called? The and, the shorthand for and. Now, I wonder, should I call it, if I had you all on live, I would be able to ask you the question, should I call it Swan and Vestas matches, or maybe just call them Swan and Vestas? Maybe that would be enough. Always takes me a little minute to get them out. I bought these wee stampers, and I think they were, should really show you. There's the lovely wee stampers. They're really muddy and messy now because they've been used. This is now the 5th year of me using them. They were, I think, $1.99 in Hobbycraft. And I got this little ink pad in the range. You probably don't have the range if you're outside of the UK, or maybe even outside of Ireland, but I think it was like £1, and it's just been a brilliant stamper. It feels like it's never ending. So there we go. Swan and Vestas. I'm just going to stop there because it's like, and you need a Kleenex, you know, it's just, it says what it is there and then. Okay, so, oh, totally forgot. Totally forgot. I'm just looking at it thinking there's something that I have forgotten. And what I forgot, and looking at the image that I have, is that actually all of those matches there have to have ends. And I completely forgot to put those ends on. So I'm just going to add those in now. There we go. So they've all got their ends now. I don't even know, can I? Oh, I can? Oh, class. I can, because there's some ink in that, I can make those lovely big blobs. So now what I need to do is I need to let that dry. And in the beauty of, like the tradition of Blue Peter, hopefully in a couple of seconds, it'll be no time at all for you. This is going to be dry and we can add some colour. Okay, so we've got it dry now. As you can see, there's no tack or anything on it. So it is now completely waterproof. And what we're going to do first of all is, I think I'm going to take this is a graduate This is a little Graduate D.Leonardt, very reasonable brush. It's a half size and it's an oval wash. What I want to do is just put, now the good thing about this is you can take loads of water just in one lift. I would tend to do normally 2 or 3 lifts whenever I'm using a normal size brush, just to get some water onto the palette before I do anything else. What I want to do is I'm getting a little bit of Jane's Grey or Payne's Grey, and I'm adding in just a wee tiniest little bit of an umber to just bring it down to a wee bit more of a natural colour. And what I want to do then is just simply bring some of this around in the background. Get a few splats on there. And I'm just setting it in just a little bit. Now there's a little bit of paint, must get off. Just setting it just in a little bit of context. So I'm going to make it slightly darker just on this left hand side here, and you'll see what I'll do in a wee second. So we're just going to lift another wee bit of water, get it a little bit darker. And the thing about the oval wash is that it really does hold so much more. So I'm just see that I'm just sort of patting it there to try and give that kind of sense of it sitting on something. Now I could go and later on add in a little bit more, go over that again once that's dry, but I'm not sure whether I will. Just wait and see. Now what we're going to go to next is I'm going to get one of my, I just noticed on the doing the dab and grab. So get yourself a cloth, just dab and grab while it's still wet, and it'll lift off the water there. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is I am going to grab my, let's go for this little D.Leonardt Simply, and it's a flat shader. Now what I want to do first is start to bring a little bit of that the kind of piney, whatever, I'm not sure what sort of wood that they made. I would imagine it's a pine. So I've lifted a little bit of the wash that I had for the kind of grey around, and I'm just adding in a yellow ochre, and I may add in a little bit of the raw sienna light. Now I'm using the watercolours that I'm using tonight are the Daniel Smith's half pans. It's a 24 set. So the colours that I'm quoting you are off that. So a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of that raw sienna light. Okay, so I think we're nearly there. Okay, let's go with that. So what we're going to do now, these as we go on behind, they are going to get sort of lighter and darker. So I'm just adding those in. I may mix in just a little bit more raw light as we go. Just lift it that little bit lighter for the top, making sure that the two don't essentially touch. Now what I will do as they go back, if you can see in there, as they go back under the box, we're going to make that darker so that there's some sort of a distinction there, and make that one light as well. But what we need to do is to let that dry for a minute. Now what I'm going to do then is make it a little bit darker. You have 2 options, as I've said before, whenever it comes to doing shadows with watercolor. You can either intensify the pigment and strength of the color that you have, or else add in a darker color like a darker blue, or like a black or a brown or something like that, So that's really your options, or that's the options that I know of. If you know of any different, I would love to hear. Okay, so keep that as that little lip there is the edge of the box. I'm going to take this little line here, just right there. Okay, right. So what I do then is whenever there's an area that needs to dry, I leave that well alone and work away down to another color. Now I could do, if you know Swan Vestas boxes, they've got that kind of lovely yellow sort of color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do I'm going to leave that for a second until that gets a bit drier, and then I'm going to move to this section on the side here, and to do that I'm going to be using some geothite, which is a brown ochre, and I'm going to actually mix, now I don't use this very often, but I'm going to mix the buff titanium white in with that. And that's just going to be the base colour for that to give that idea. So this, when you're in watercolour, and when I'm teaching my watercolour class, what I'm always saying is you're strategically thinking in layers. Watercolour is waterproof when it's dry, and therefore you can build it up, but you've got to exercise patience because you've got to let it dry. If you don't let it dry, it's not going to work for you. Or it'll work in a totally different way. That's probably a better way to put it. Gonna add that a little bit there. And then on this side, just looking to try and get in a little bit of the shadow then on this side of the box here. I'm deliberately have turned the heating up in the studio here so that hopefully it's going to dry that bit quicker. Now, I'm going to go for the green on the box. So the green on the box is a very, it's quite a bright green. I normally work with, what do you call it, colours, more sort of earthy colours, but it is nice every so often to mix colours that are not our normal. So I am mixing in cobalt turquoise with sap green, and I had even got, did I touch another colour in there? There's a phthalo green there that is going to be, the phthalo green's actually probably closer to what it is we're looking for. Yeah, I think that's... Now, they always say that the mix in any colour is a pendulum swing. You're kind of going backwards and forwards to find the colour. And I'm not looking for... I'm rarely looking for the exact colour. I'm normally just looking for close enough, because I want this to be enjoyable. And I think this kind of more illustrative style, the point of this is not to be, I've said this before, I'm not a photorealist, and probably the majority of you aren't photorealists either, and therefore we can just enjoy, isn't that the point? We can just enjoy. Okay, now, what I'm going to do next, I've got to clean off a little bit of this palette here, because my little... Oh no, actually I'll use the other side there. So we're going to use next, the colour that in the set that I'm using, the Daniel Smith set, is called Pearl Scarlet. So we're going to add Pearl Scarlet. Now, the Pearl Scarlet is a very kind of a blood red sort of colour. I'm going to add in a little bit of permanent alizarin crimson. Yeah, and just need a wee bit more of that. There we go. I think that's pretty good. And then we're just going to go around the swan now. So just trying to stay a little bit within the lines. I am quite pleased with how I've got the writing, and so what I'm doing here as well is I am dropping the watercolour on, moving the brush around to get it to go where I want it to, and then lifting. I must show you this actually. I would do this quite a lot. And whenever, it's like all things, whenever it's something that you do and you do quite a lot, it takes you a while to realise that you do it, and also that sometimes others don't, so it's good to show what you're doing. That's how we all learn from each other. Okay, now just keep glancing back to the original so that I know what I'm doing. And that went over slightly the W there. I am not concerned about that in any way. Just wanted to over communicate that. Really good thing to do if you find that you're super duper critical of your work, is to find things that are positive and say them. I think that's good. I think that's come out well. Okay, so I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. So I've got this color mixed here. I'm just going to lift that with the brush, and then I'm dropping it on. Now the brush isn't that full, so let me mix it again. I'll show you how I'm mixing this. So we're getting the Pearl Scarlet, and then more of that permanent alizarin crimson. Now I've mixed a lot there. I'm just increasing the intensity of that. Then I can lift that. And I can drop it where I want it to go. There we go. And it's just a nice simple technique to kind of just enrich, kind of enrich the pigment where it's going. The good thing about this is because the line work's really nice and chunky, then it means that I can effectively, there's the watercolors aren't, I don't want the watercolors to bleed, and therefore there's a nice thick kind of boundary around that, So what I'm going to do then is look to try and get the color for the head of the matches. And for that, I'm going to quinacridone rose, and then I'm going for a little bit of going for a little bit of, just trying to track on the pad here. Going for a little bit of Indian red. Yeah, and that's not too bad. Yeah, it's actually pretty good for the colour of the match. So we'll see when I put this down. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That comes out quite well. Now, what I'm deliberately doing is not putting too much on because it means it'll dry faster. I also want to leave the little light source there. If it was the human eye, I would call it a catch light. Just letting the colour pull a little bit there. So again, just going to leave on that area that's lighter. Pull it right across. And on this side, same again. Just leaving that one little area. It's lighter. Negative space, I believe it's called. And then again, just leaving that one little area. It's lighter. Okay, then on this side here, along the side wall of the bit that you pull out of the match, it's going to be dark. So I want to mix a muddy color. So I go to my Payne's Grey and I go to my raw umber and I mix those two together. And that'll give me a really nice muddy color to indicate shadow. And that hopefully will work quite nicely across here. Just to indicate. Now that also, I want to be able to keep that because I would say that that's going to be quite good for capturing the shadow potentially at the bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do now then is I'm going to pause this video. I am going to let it dry and then we will continue. Okay, so that's the colours dry now. Now what we're going to do next is try and tackle this colour of the box, which is a pretty fluorescent colour, but what we want to be aware of is that, so I'm going to try, I was going to say what we want to be aware of is that it might not be exactly as we think. So what I'm using color-wise here is Hansa Yellow with a little bit of Hansa Yellow Deep and a little bit of Hansa Yellow Light to try and get the vibrancy of this packet. So it's a lovely, lovely vibrant color. It's not a color I would, normally use, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have the opportunity to use it then. Love using a yellow. There's something just so cheery and happy about it. Love using yellows for sunrises and just any old excuse to get using a yellow really. So wanting to just keep looking backwards and forwards at my reference picture. Even better if you have the item there. And this is a still life, isn't it? This is a good old still life. It's quite an illustrated sort of a style, just using the corner of the flat edge brush. I haven't actually been going on about my flat edge brush obsession tonight. I used that mop to start, and I totally forgot to keep going on. So the joy of the flat edge is if you watch the way that I'm using it, so you can obviously use it straight down like that, but this is a good way to just access those kind of skinnier bits. Then when it comes to this corner, I'm turning it to the corner of the brush. Come to the corner, turn it to the corner. This little trick I told you about, lifting the paint and then just dropping it just down on the side here. It's still warm from having used a hairdryer. One of the things I think that happens when you use a hairdryer is it can mute the colours a little bit. But for the purposes of doing this video, and this is a light-hearted little watercolour study, which just means it's nice fun, isn't it? It's good. It's just enjoyable, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so we've added the yellow in. What I'm going to do is then go to, do you remember I told you about the colour that I had used for the side of the side of the box there to give the dark? Is also going to be super good for just capturing that kind of that sort of irregular grittiness that you get from the, you know, the side where the old traditional side where it was an abrasive surface like sandpaper. So let that be the first layer of that, just sort of dotting around there, trying to get a bit of a feel of that. What I want to do then is mix that a little bit darker, because that's quite a browny sort of a tone, and just drop it on here, just a little bit more there, and then also just underneath the box. So that simple line, isn't it amazing how just a simple line just indicates like just a third dimension. And I'm gonna just do a little tap of color there. Can't be without my little tap of color. Okay, so what I want to do as well is for the actual match color then is give that idea that it is going into the box at the back. And to do that, I am using the Hansel light and just a little bit of Payne's grey. Okay, so you just see, oh, now that's quite good actually that happened. Not that I meant it to happen, but that was too close. What I do then is I remove the water from the brush. I squeeze it through my hands, which pulls all the water out, and then it means that I can catch it, and I can catch it from going any further. Then I go back in, I load up my brush, and then I am much more conscious of going too close to that side. So I want that to be a bit darker. Just mixing that darker now, and a bit more yellow ochre to that. So that's a really, really simple and effective technique to pull back a color when you can tell that they're going to start mixing together and you don't want them to mix together. And I'm just going to using the corner of the brush just to touch on a couple of areas where I want to show that the matches are that little bit, you know, they're sort of going underneath the box. Okay, and also they're gonna, it's just that little line at the side. It's indicating the totally bit of a shadow. Isn't it lovely how watercolor gives you that lovely kind of building up effect, that modeling effect, and because it's darker tone and darker tone, I can just add that in there. Now, also going back to my color that I had mixed for the match heads, then the last time I was looking to leave light, this time I'm wanting to add in so that it's darker. So I'm just using the same color, this little drop on the side, just to indicate that actually it is a round three-dimensional object. Now what I want to do as well is, just as it's coming into that side of the box, I want to give that little nod to shadow as well. I like using that word. I've realised how much I like using that word, a little nod to. Say that a lot, just a little nod. Just a little nod to that shadow on the side of the box, and where the box goes out, just where it hits in there. And there's also just a little, let me see if I can get away with doing this here. Moving that down there. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Just that little line helps model it that little bit more. Okay, now also I'll maybe use a much lighter brush for that. Okay, what I want to do as well is go over that lift. So I'm lifting the yellow. This is the second layer because the first layer is now dry. Can you see how that just lifts that whole color? That second coating, that second layer, just really makes it that bit stronger. What I want to do is tap. To have that little tap for a splash of color there. Okay, and the only other thing that I want to do to this is add a couple of more dots here. I like the way that's kind of nice and even. You've got that wee mini cauliflower there. You've got that sort of light tone there for the green. I'm okay with that. I do want to lift the color ever so slightly of the match. So to do that, I'm just going to use the raw sienna light. Just to bring a little bit more warmth to the wood there on that side. Just that little bit. Now, you can see where it has leaked ever so slightly from the yellow into that side. That doesn't really bother me that much, I have to say. What I am going to do is get a much smaller brush. Aha, let's go for the dagger. So this is a D.Leonardt, not D.Leonardt, makes it sound like an egg. D.Leonardt, and it's a sword brush and it's a quarter size. So I'm just going to mix a darker tone. I'm just going to dot it here, if it'll let me. The sword brush typically I find doesn't hold a lot of pigment, so you have to work at that a little bit. So just a few dots. That's actually working quite well, just the way I really wanted it to, just to indicate that you've got that side there, that kind of rough side where they're, you know, that sandpapery side. Just trying to make it as irregular as I can. Okay, I just want to see if I can lift that a little where that yellow's gone, but I don't think I can. That's just going to be part of the deal. And there you go. That's my simple little drawing of Swan Vestas matches. And do you know what? Oh, he was saying there he goes, and he's just seen your. I don't think this is fiddling. I think this is genuinely trying to. The thing is that yellow's running more than I wanted to. Oh well. Okay. Did he fiddle? Who knows? Anyway, there's my little. I was just wrapping it all up and I decided to waffle on. There's my little painting, illustrative painting of Swan and Vestas matches. Nice and simple. Have a go yourself. I'll pop this image up on the community page. I'll get this. Well, you're watching this video, so you know I've already got this video up. But any questions, comments you have, do like and share and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching, and just enjoy painting in watercolor and ink. Bye for now.